Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Alliance. Of course, I'm your host Clay, and with me, from the sounds of it, having just as much of a crappy day as I am, is Katie. How you doing?
Hi, I'm here. I'm here. I promise.
I
No, bad
I
knee pains and a migraine.
I'm
Suck.
just gonna say I think I have learned my official lesson in not staying up for the Mandalorian anymore. Because I was fine. I was dead okay. I was gonna go to bed immediately after, and then my 6 month old, who doesn't understand the concept of daylight savings time, is like, "Oh, it's time to wake up." And so I was awake with her for a good extra 2 hours. And again, I made the mistake of instead of immediately just starting to get ready for the day and just saying, I guess I'm not going to sleep today, I decided I think I can make a 15-minute power nap work. That 15 minutes turned into 2.5 hours, and I was an hour late to work. And
Bad
then,
Clay.
yeah, and then a customer door dinged my company van, and literally, like, so I can, it less than a freaking inch, less than a centimeter was what's bigger? Centimeters bigger, inches smaller, smaller than an inch, right? No, I was right. I was right the first time. Math, freaking math, people. Metrics. Um, the paint chip on the door handle was less than an inch, and I had to spend 2.5 hours on the phone with my superiors for an accident report, and I had to go take a drug test. Stupid. Stupid, stupid, stupid. But that's all work stuff. I did say at least I have Star Wars Alliance. We're going to talk some stuff. There's some stuff that we didn't get to talk about last week, just because we both had to record in the morning because we both had busy work to be done that day, and then of course I was late to that show too. But we're here. We're finally here. We're here live. Um, the one big piece of news before we get into that, of course, everybody knows this is the GUA. We're part of the GUA, Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. All of our shows are going to be down below. The scheduling via the particular day is also down below if you would like to know more about that. Um, in particular, some keynotes in the network. Joe just posted today his season finale of the Last of Us episode. I got to be a part of that. Go check out that review. The show was immaculate. I absolutely loved the show. So give it a try and then listen to all of our reviews. We learned a lot from the Last of Us official podcast with the actual showrunners of the show. So listen to that as a companion piece also. Really great stuff. Um, DC Alliance next week is getting ready for their Shazam review. This time tomorrow, I would have already seen Shazam, so very exciting stuff about that. And we have not planned our March crossover episode with the rest of the GUA, so we will keep you guys posted on that. But of course, the one thing that we always want to recommend people here at the GUA, you can always get a hold of us via live, via Twitter. Of course, our handle on Twitter is uh, Star Wars Alliance. Of course, the actual handle to search us is Star Wars without the A in the wars. It's very important. Don't forget it. And that exact handle is our Gmail account, as well as we have our Star Wars Alliance hotline. This phone number, of course, is there so that way you guys can react, whether it be via text message or a voicemail, to episodes of The Mandalorian or The Bad Batch or anything that we are viewing in the realm of Star Wars, of course. And that number is 830-538-4828. So, again, that phone number is 830-538-4828 for the Star Wars Alliance hotline. Now,
And of course, don't forget our email if you don't want to do either social media or the phone number. You can always email us. It's the
yes,
same username as our social media profiles. Star Wars Alliance without the A in the wars. Very important. Don't forget it at gmail.com. So,
very, very important. Now, to our first news topic, the one that we did miss out on last week. We Let me actually doom scroll through our Star Wars Alliance chat to see if I can find it. There was a lot of news that came out as far as the where Lucasfilm is sitting right now as far as movies. The biggest thing was the fact that Star Wars in the last 4 years since 2019 has seemingly canceled and or put on the shelf 7 different movies that have been on production. 7. That is insane. 7 movies.
yes.
And we have had this discussion many of times about how it looks like Disney and Lucasfilm has found their home at Disney Plus. Does this mean we're never going to get Star Wars on the big screen? We've had these discussions before, but seeing all of this in, actual real life, like there was an actual article about this, pushing it hard that like, hey, there's something going on here. Katie, how do you feel about how like 7 movies being pushed into basically cancellation and there not really being a like solid floor to stand on when it comes to Star Wars on the big screen?
I think the problem is that a lot of these movies that have come and gone just live in development hell, and we've seen a lot of studios end up doing the same thing where they will have a ton of things go into development, but not necessarily everything will become out, or not necessarily everything will come out. And I think that's the important part to remember here is that they're being extraordinarily picky, and whether that's a good or a bad thing, um, kind of yet to see with the amount that's come out. Obviously, I think everyone's really been happy with Disney Plus shows, so it shows they've got good taste there. A lot of this stuff though, like it wasn't news, I don't think. Like it was put off as like, hey, all of these movies are actually canceled. Nothing's coming out of development. We're just gonna have to wait and see what happens because the Damon Lindelof movie is supposed to come out this year, and that was the only thing in that article that was kind of confirmed to still be happening. But the two of note that were mentioned was the rumored Kevin Feige movie that had the Michael guy from Loki supposedly writing.
Yes.
We saw a lot on that. Um, and then the Patty Jenkins one was no longer in development. Uh, Patty came out and said, "Hey, this is no longer in development. I
Well,
hope to come back to it, but it's no
correction.
longer in development."
So I don't remember if those were the exact words because I remember a lot of people like having a glimmer of hope with her statement because it was along with everything happening with Wonder Woman, correct?
Mhm.
And so I don't think it was like saying it's no longer in development. I think it was more so saying like, hey, it's still in development, but it's not moving forward as far as like it was no longer on a at a run, it was more like at a crawl. Uh and I think that one is hurting more people because it's had several times where it's like, "Oh, it's not happening. Oh, it's happening. Oh, it's not happening. Oh, it's happening." It's almost kind of like the Ryan Johnson treatment with his trilogy, which was another uh, you know, just empty promise from Lucasfilm, basically. Um, and you can say, "Oh, well, it's because Ryan Johnson is so busy at Netflix doing all of the uh, uh, Knives Out movies and everything else." I almost feel like Ryan Johnson is kind of in the Zack Snyder boat in the sense of like, "Hey, I found my spot here. I might as well
And
just, make myself at home."
I'm not gonna say he found a spot at Netflix, because his Poker Face series is on Peacock. So it's not like
True.
he specifically went to Netflix.
Yeah.
Knives Out is there, but I do
But
think
I think more so staying away from big franchises.
his Knives Out's turning into a big franchise. But yes, I get where you're coming from. I don't necessarily think that's the thing. I think he's being a lot more choosy because he wants to be treated right. Ryan Johnson was not treated like a human by most people when Last Jedi came out.
Very true. Very true.
So for me, I'm never gonna fault a director, cinematographer, or whoever who says, you know what, I'm gonna go somewhere else because they're gonna treat me better. And I mean, I love Last Jedi. Star Wars fans don't deserve another Ryan Johnson movie. Like, it's just plain and simple because Star Wars fans are greedy and want everything to be perfect. And y'all, that's not how life works. Um, but I did want to ask you a question because we talked about this when this was leaked. I'm gonna say, by Michael Waldrop. Uh, this Kevin Feige movie for Star Wars. Did you ever think that was actually gonna happen?
I knew you were
Because
gonna ask me this question. I knew you were
everyone
gonna
was
ask me this
shocked,
question. Because
and I'm
here's the
just like,
thing. You can say no. This was, of course, here's the reason why I feel like most people felt like it was going to happen. Because Kathleen Kennedy said this during that, like, in the middle of COVID, freaking Disney Plus Day broadcast that I feel like everybody was watching.
I don't feel like she said it then. I feel like Loki came out and then it got leaked that Michael Waldrop and Kevin Feige were looking into doing a Star Wars
I'm pretty no, no, I'm pretty sure it was during their Disney Plus Day, and then we
because they
learned
didn't
about
announce.
the writer after Loki. I think that's how it went, because I feel like that's why so many people were kind of shocked by it, because it was like you actually saw Kathleen Kennedy say it from her mouth that this was happening. I'm pretty sure.
Um, so this was September 25th, 2019, which was too early for Disney Plus. Uh,
Really?
Variety has learned Marvel Studios president is developing a new Star Wars movie for Disney. Feige will join Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy on an upcoming Star Wars film as she ushers in a new wave of Star Wars content following the conclusion of the Skywalker saga.
All right.
This
Well,
was before Rise of Skywalker even opened.
so I'm gonna go ahead and ask the help of the GUA also and the audience, anybody listening. I I don't think it was a fever dream, because now I'm starting to think it was a fever dream. I don't think it was a fever dream. So please help me remember what I'm thinking about then, because I feel like it was there. Now, th- if it wasn't, then it's a fever dream, and my reasoning behind me actually thinking it was going to happen is no longer even valid. But if it did happen that way, I feel like, okay, you make a big announcement, we see what Kevin has done to Marvel. Now, can he at least open the door for him, for whoever to do that with Star Wars? Again, I never wanted Kevin to be at the head of Star Wars. I wanted Kevin to go to Lucasfilm. and be like, "Hey, this is what I have learned in my time of running Marvel Studios and making everything connective tissue. This is these are some pointers that I can do for Lucasfilm." That's what I wanted Kevin to do. And so that way they could be like, "Okay, taking notes, let's copy homework but not make it so obvious, whatever." And I feel like Kevin making a movie would have opened that door. And so I was excited for it. I was like, "Hell yeah, let's do it. Let's freaking do it." Now, the longer it took for them to have any kind of development on that movie, my excitement for it, of course, went down to almost non-existent to not even thinking this thing exists. I truly don't even think that Kevin met with Kathleen at all. I think, like, in a very scary way, I think Kathleen was just like, "Let me just throw this out there and see if there's any response from
Well,
Kevin."
the quote um that Variety grabbed is from, or I don't know if he's still there, but Alan Horn, the at the time co-chairman and chief creative officer, and he said, "With the close of the Skywalker saga, Kathy is pursuing a new era in Star Wars storytelling, and knowing what a diehard fan Kevin is, it made sense for these two extraordinary producers to work on a Star Wars film." My understanding was that he was going to be directing, and this was going to be the first like case he got to direct in a while. But maybe he was just producing. I don't know, but I like we were in the big swing of Marvel stuff, MCU stuff, and
Mhm.
we knew Disney Plus was coming. We knew that Kevin was still going to remain the head of the MCU. That was said, and I never thought it was happening. I was
I
like, "You're lying to me. You are trying to drum up some excitement for Star Wars films. It's not going to happen."
so this kind of leads me to, well, I mean, not a very braceful and nice cutaway, but during all of this mess with the cancellations and the shelved movies and everything else, we learned about some other drama that was going on in Lucasfilm. Uh, a lawsuit has
Yeah.
been thrown at Lucasfilm. Um, and guys, whenever I think of people throwing lawsuits at billion-dollar companies, I kind of have to laugh at it. But looking at the details of this lawsuit, I kind of have to say, wow, Lucasfilm is really shitty for this.
Yeah.
So
So, okay, yeah, you explain it.
this comes from Deadline. Now, I don't know all the details. I just know, of course, there is this individual, of course, being McCarthy, Karen McCarthy, was going to be the one to run Acolyte, I believe.
She was going to be an executive producer.
Yes. Now, from what the statement is saying, it's basically Lucasfilm went to Karen and was like, "Hey, here's the show. This is what it's going to be about. We want you to show run it and produce whatever." And they did not pay her up front. They're just like, "Hey, let's just verbally say that you'll do it, and we'll get everything else situated later." And
Signed a contract and everything.
yes, always have the written word so that way you have proof. Always. But this is essentially what they did. She basically said yes, moved everything out of her schedule to be on this show. And then Lucasfilm said, "Actually, I think we're going to go with somebody else."
Yep. And she
And
lost job
that's
opportunities. Like arranged living stuff in
Yeah.
England because that's where Acolyte is filming. So,
I
uh,
I absolutely like this was disgusting to me. And you shared with me or us in the Star Wars chat, you shared, I believe it was an Instagram post, kind of sharing a little bit more insight on the actual details. You said, "Oh, I didn't even see this." It says, according to information attached to a recent lawsuit, Star Wars Acolyte story arc is set up to span multiple seasons. The lawsuit, which has seen producer Karen McCarthy file for breach of contract against Lucasfilm, includes the following notes. McCarthy accepted Lucasfilm's offer in part because Lucasfilm had assured her that the story arc of the show, as well as the company's business plans, called for Acolyte to run for multiple seasons. McCarthy, who is courted by Disney to join the Acolyte, was recently removed from the production 2 weeks after being hired without reason or justification. Like, just like, hey, you're no longer a part of this. Okay, bye. Again, really shitty.
Um, just as a note for you, Nathan caught it in the chat. I didn't check my mic. It was on my camera mic, and not my snowball. So
All
audio is
right.
going to be different for the first 20 minutes.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
y'all.
think I might be able to lower yours a little bit so I can play with that. Um,
Thanks,
so
Nathan.
it says here that uh, the note indicating further seasons is certainly interesting and potentially opens the door to seeing more familiar Sith in the show. The first season, and of course, this talks about just the fact that it's in the High Republic 100 years before the Phantom Menace. But that's what I was talking about. The fact that they just let her go, no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no warning. Just, hey, you need to go. Now, I haven't seen any update on this, but like, has she been attached to anything else after this? Like,
I don't think so. We could take a look on the Wikipedias or the IMDb.
now,
But yeah, the fact that it's supposed to span, um, the fact that it's supposed to span multiple seasons is interesting. Um, Especially considering what we have, what we found out today is that the Acolyte is scheduled for what was it, 8 episodes, 60
mhm.
minutes each, and that there's an intimacy coordinator in all 8 episodes.
Things are about to get a little spicy
Spicy! Can you believe
in
this is
Star
going on
Wars.
Disney Plus?
Now, so I can believe it. And people are like, how can you believe this? Guys, Netflix Marvel is on Disney Plus. Have you seen Jessica Jones?
That is
It's
true.
on Disney Plus. So
Jessica Jessica Jones is my favorite of the Netflix shows.
I love the first season. I don't think I got very far in the second season. I still need to, and I didn't even touch the third season. But I am really excited about this. I've talked about this plenty of times just because this is in the wheelhouse of the High Republic. This is something that we've been wanting to see. I'm really excited about this. Now, it sucks for Karen that she got, the boot, uh, and essentially did not get paid at all for any work she had done, whether that be pre-writing or anything as far as the production goes. Because we have no details on that specifically.
yeah.
But that just sucks. And I think that Lucasfilm needs to like really get their shit together when it comes to that kind of thing.
Yeah, because it's just a really bad standard to set. And I mean, we talked about it ad nauseum with some of the changes recently at like Warner Brothers and stuff. Like not producing movies and not releasing movies that are already finished. Not that Acolyte was finished in this case, but it just sets a bad taste in your mouth and it doesn't make people want to come work for you. So
Yeah.
we're already having enough problems getting things through the production studio. So
And
don't
I see that you're triggering Snell in our chat by sharing some old news. Sorry, Snell. Um, but where do you want to go from here? Because I know that we had some news that we, of course, have missed in the last week. Not a whole lot, nothing too crazy. Um, of course, you guys, it is March 15th. That's the time we are recording this. We are a month away from Celebration, I think, at this
Yep.
point.
Yeah.
So
Just under a month because it ends, I think, the 11th of April. So we're expecting a lot of news to come then. So that's why I think you're seeing the slowdown here. The biggest things we have left to talk about is book related things. So while Clay and I did not like this novel, Battle Scars debuted at number 11 on the New York Times bestseller list. So
yes, it
congratulations
did.
to Sam Maggs as well as Random House Worlds. I love that Star Wars is just hitting the bestseller list every single time. It's super important and it keeps these books in the minds of people. And I'm glad other people liked the book.
Did you see the video that Sam, I think, quote tweeted or commented on? Somebody like apparently bookmarked the sale of the book in like a or no, not a sale. I think it was a app for a library. Uh and they put it in a category of like very spicy romance novels where like all the covers were like of naked men and women, and they're like, I think
Ooh.
or it says right here, it says place the hold on a new Sam Maggs book, and Libby seems to think it's a very different series, and then it scrolls down to all of the quote unquote related titles, and they are very spicy books. And Sam quote tweeted it saying, "No, no, this is correct. This is true. This is
I
it's all
I'd
the
give her like a
same."
I'd give her like a 2.5 pepper. So
Yeah, we again, if you guys want to listen to our review, go check it out in the Star Wars Alliance feeds, or the GUA feeds. When it comes to our normal news episodes and our reviews, I don't know if you've noticed this, Katie, but I do not put the number of episodes on our news, or no, sorry, I don't put the number on our reviews, but I put the number on our news segments. So all you have to do is type in Star Wars Battle Scars on our Star Wars Alliance feeds, and it'll show up right there. So go check that out. We did have good times in that book, but not everything was for us. So that's
yeah.
all I will give you a tease at if you want to go check out our review.
So book news. Dark Horse did announce the High Republic Adventures Phase 1 collection. So that is coming in October, I believe. And that will have the Thai graphic novel, as well as the 13 issues, including the epilogue for the High Republic Adventure series, and then the one shot. So the annual done by the 5 original Star Wars The High Republic authors, as well as the Bake Off issue. So that is something that I'm picking up mainly for collection purposes because I'm needy. Like, Cataclysm's Goldsboro book got announced today, and I'm picking that up as well. Uh, so still waiting on Convergence to come in because I've decided I'm just getting the extra copies of the High Republic books because, and I've really enjoyed the adult books on this wave of the High Republic. So I know a lot of people are struggling with the High Republic this phase. Um, so yeah.
Oh, small tease, because we can't say a lot as far as the next book coming out, Cataclysm. But I'm just gonna say the warning that you gave me, Katie, I totally understand.
I don't remember the warning. We'll have to talk afterwards. But that
Yes.
review is supposed to be coming next Wednesday because that's when the embargo drops for Cataclysm. So,
I need to finish the
you'll be here
book.
next week.
Yes, I will finish it by next week, of course. It is going to be a doozy of a review because it is a hefty book. Um, but
Mhm.
there's it hits the ground running. I'll just say that much. Uh,
Yep.
the other book news I saw in our chat is the fact that the we got some wave. Oh, what is the
Wave
uh
7 of the
7?
Essential Legends collection. And
Yes.
I'm gonna present so I can show these covers because they are beautiful. All right, so we have an Old Republic book, Fatal Alliance. And so you've got uh the main characters on the board here. I do not have the artist names for these covers. This is actually not an official announcement, because I never saw anything from Random House Worlds on this. But everything looks kind of completed. So Star Wars Book Collector on Instagram pulled these. So if you want to wait, don't look. So the next book is Outbound Flight. So you've got Thrawn right here, and then you have Thras down here in the bottom, as well as the Outbound Flight with the dreadnoughts and the core and everything. I love this. This is very artistic. Not something I would have thought of after reading this book. Uh,
Very colorful.
very colorful. The next book, my girl's back on a Star Wars cover, is Mara Jade and Luke Skywalker on another colorful cover for Survivor's Quest. So we got two Timothy Zahn books in this one. And Survivor's Quest is basically a sequel to Outbound Flight. So I think this is why the covers mimic each other right here. So
Okay.
and then the next book in the Republic Commando series by Kieran Travis, 000. And you've got clones on another very colorful cover staring at each other. So it's nice to kind of see the clone's face, I feel like. But this is definitely on Coruscant because you can kind of see the cityscape behind it. So those are the covers. We did also get a lovely if is it gonna no it's not, of course it's not. Okay, hang on. StreamYard changed the way it presents the things, so
Yeah, you have to choose which tab that you're opening and all of that stuff. It's not as simple as it used to be, unfortunately.
so here is the cover. It is an entertainment news weekly first look, but we have Vernestra, and then we have Keeves lightsabers with their hands on the cover for the young adult anthology entitled Tales of Light and Life. And this cover also came with a sneak peek into one of the stories with Affy, Leo, and Geode picking up on is Irem, right? I think it's Irem. Right
Yeah.
after Starlight Beacon falls. So that is something that you can go check out if you're interested. I'm trying not to read it. I don't know if I'm going to succeed or not. But all of the authors for the High Republic Phase 1 and Phase 2 are contributing a short story, and that is due to come out September 5th. Oh shit, and the other news I forgot, almost forgot, because, and the only reason I remember is because the date. So we have this is 9 short stories for the High Republic Tales of Light and Life. And I don't have it pulled up in front of me because I was traveling when this news came up. But we got a, from a certain point of view, Return of the Jedi announcement
Oh,
with
yes.
the cutest cover on it. I love this cover so much. Um, so I'm so excited for this. September 5th is going to be a packed day of short stories. 49 short stories to be specific. Um, so I know the whole GUA chat was talking about it and how
So
I
you
was the only one excited for it.
well, because I don't think you had listened to their episode. So in one of the reviews of, I believe it was episode 2 of The Mandalorian, Geekverse was reviewing, and one small detail that we kind of washed over in Mando is that the R2 unit in Mando is supposedly supposed to be the original R2 unit that Luke Skywalker was
It
going
is,
to. Yes, yes. It's the same one. And so what started the conversation was actually me in the GV chat while they were reviewing this, and they were talking about how, like, oh, it's a small little Easter egg, blah 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 blah, how fun, blah blah blah, blah. And I told them about the story about how R2D2 basically asked that R2 unit, hey, blow your circuits so I can be the one to be with this young man and to save the galaxy. Snell thought that was a little ridiculous. That's kind of stupid. And I mentioned it because of the certain point of view. And then literally the very next day, Lucasfilm Star Wars decides, hey, we're going to go ahead and announce from a certain point of view Return of the Jedi. So he was all sorts of triggered. It was absolutely hilarious. I love this
lovely.
cover. I love this cover. I am legitimately only looking forward to maybe 3 of these stories.
Which 3 in particular?
So I am looking forward to, and let me actually see the from a certain, so I can actually read the names. Uh, so I am looking forward to, of course, Adam Christopher, Mike Chen, and then I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, going back to uh, uh, Star Wars Visions, the duel was
Yes.
Alyssa Wong, correct?
No.
No, no,
Alyssa
no.
Wong,
No, no.
is the author on Dr. Aphra.
Yes,
Um,
yeah, that's
so
who
this
that
is
was.
her first written fiction piece.
Who wrote
Emma something something.
Oh, Emma Candon.
Is that
Is
what
it
it
Emma
is?
is it Emma Candon?
Well, we're about to zoom in on my bookshelf and find out. Emma Mieko Candon. Yes.
Yes. So those 3 are the stories that I'm personally looking forward to. Now, again, some can surprise me. I'm totally willing to be open-minded about this. But one thing, and I'm sure we will eventually get to it, but what me and Katie had planned was that we were going to do a whole recording session of reviewing all of these certain point of view stories, and we're going to tag them as little, post credit scenes for all of you guys to enjoy. I'm sure we will get there eventually, but let me just tell you, from a certain point of view, A New Hope, there is a story where Aunt Beru talks from the dead in the point of view that she's already
There's a lot
died,
of ghost stories in that one.
and she talks about how she makes the best blue milk cheese, and she is the best dairy farmer out there, and it was so boring.
Well, and I think a lot of times, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. I think for me, these stories are a great way to see what new authors could potentially bring to the Star Wars universe. They don't all have to be perfect. I mean, it's 40 stories. They're given a lot of options. After this one releases, these books will have basically given 108 authors an entrance into IP storytelling with Star
Hmm.
Wars.
Yeah.
And that's hugely important. There's not been a ton of repeat authors. I think Adam Christopher is one of the only ones. Tom Engelberg is another. Uh so it's really 120 stories, 108 authors. That's what it boils down to. So I think this is a great way to get people involved and just have an opportunity. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just gotta be something.
Correct, because in terms that I know, uh, DC and Marvel do kind of the same thing with their like winter specials, their summer specials, and everything else.
Yeah.
They will bring in writers who don't normally write for these publishers, and they'll say, "Hey, here's your shot. Do whatever you want." And sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's kind of trash. I understand. There was a lot of stories in here that I actually enjoyed. So there's one about the creature that was in the compactor of the Death Star.
Mhm.
Love that story. Didn't really go anywhere, but I love that story. I love the story of the father that had to send his daughter away. Like that was a heartbreaking story. Absolutely loved it. And then there was like 17 billion stories about the one scene where freaking Obi-Wan Kenobi slice off what's his name's hand in the cantina. And we had every single perspective of every single person in that bar, including all the insects that were just flies on the wall. Like it was so dumb how many perspectives of that one story in a row that we got. Like I lost track of whose story was what. Like,
I think I think that's also just the balance of doing this for the first time. Is trying to figure out, okay, how do we balance each scene with what comes up? With Empire Strikes Back, they split it up by like Hoth, Dathomir, the asteroid sequences for Han and Leia, and then Cloud City.
yeah.
So they split them up by that, and I feel like it's more balanced in that one. But in this one, some of the preview stories that we have in the summary, Olivia Blake provides a chilling glimpse into the mind of Emperor Palpatine. Saladin Ahmed recounts the tragic history of the Rancor trainer. Charlie Jane Anders explores the life and times of the Sarlacc. Fran Wild reveals Mon Mothma's secret mission to save the Rebel Alliance. Mary Kinney chronicles Wicket the Ewok's quest for one quiet day on the forest moon of Endor. Anakin Skywalker becomes one with the Force in a gripping tale by Mike Chen. So those are just kind of the sneak peeks to some of the characters that we're going to be getting. Also, just remember for everybody who hates this, if you have to cling on to something positive with the publishing of this book, um, Penguin Random House and Disney Lucasfilm make donations to First Book, a leading nonprofit that provides new books, learning materials, and other essentials to educators and organizations serving children in need. Uh, Penguin Random House is going to donate at least $100,000 worth of books to First Book, and Disney Lucasfilm will donate 100,000 children's books to support First Book and their mission of providing equal access to quality education. The one thing I do wish that we knew, because I know for some of the first few ones, the authors were donating their time and not receiving any profits from this. I do hope the authors were really compensated in this one.
Yeah. Uh I think that is great. Um and we have always said we're always going to have our opinions. We're always going to share our opinions, but we're always going to look for the best in those things. We're not
Yep.
always here to just say, "Hey, this is trash. We're going to trash all over it, everything else." I think in the time that I have been hosting Star Wars Alliance with Katie, we have had maybe two misses in all of the books that we reviewed. I think Padawan and Battle Scars. That's really it. Everything else has been all out bangers. But even in Padawan, we found some really great stuff in that book.
Yep.
Battle Scars, there was some great stuff in there. It's just not 100% good. And plus, when it comes to scores, the GUA is talking about scores of Shazam right now. 80 is still passing. 70 is still passing. In some places, 60 is still passing. So it's all good. You just have to honestly find the stuff that you enjoy. If you are a fan of Star Wars, I think from the certain point of view books, you should at least try. But honestly, for me, I tried A New Hope in audio format first, and I found a lot more misses than I did hits. So I'm not gonna get it in physical copy, but I will try Empire Strikes Back, see how that one is. And then I will of course try this one all in audio format first before I do physical copies.
Yep. Um, I was gonna say one more thing. Oh, the other thing with this one is that Star Wars Queer Watch on Twitter also did the calculations. There is, I believe, 17 queer authors in Return of the Jedi from a certain point of view. So major
Woohoo!
points for pulling in people for diversity. So
Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. But I believe that is it on news from what I am
I think
seeing
so.
in our Star Wars chat and everything else. So let's go ahead and move right into which one do you want to do first, Mando or Bad Batch?
Well, let's go ahead and tackle Bad Batch because while I don't believe it's a filler episode, it's definitely less of a complex story to cover for Bad.
So I will admit it. I saw some people saying, "Oh, the last episode, the Outpost and Pabu mirror each other perfectly." And I'm like, "Do they really though?" Like, I
I mean, if you think
understand,
about it,
okay, avalanche, tidal wave, I get the comparison.
I wasn't even gonna put it like that black and white. It was mainly for me about okay, finding your place in the galaxy. The Bad Batch in this episode, we're just gonna jump right to the end to like talk about this. The Bad Batch. Okay, reorganizing thoughts. Okay, we're back on track. Wrecker, Tech, and Hunter and Omega kind of find their own place and decide, okay, maybe we're not going to wander as much. Maybe we want to settle down and figure things out. So I think in the same vein, Crosshair was like, okay, maybe this isn't the direction I want to go, serving the Empire until I'm dead. Like, I need to figure things out and I need to make a move to where I'm happy with my future. And the
Yeah.
Bad Batch with Hunter, Wrecker, and Tech all kind of figure out, okay, maybe the wandering life isn't for us. Maybe this settled down life is what we're looking for. Also, I am crocheting right now. I need something to do with my hands, because I'm dealing with a lot right now. So I'm sorry if I look bored, Nathan.
It's
I really I also saw Pabu 3 months ago. So
so I did enjoy this episode. Again, I think that it was not a filler episode because it is going to, from what you just said, kind of cement the Bad Batch in a place. It's going to say, "Hey, this is our new home." Because at the very beginning of this episode, we have now seen that they've cut ties with Sid. They're like, "Yeah, F that B. We're not going back to her."
Felicia.
And we have, of course, now gone back to Wanda Sykes' character.
Mhm.
And I am so glad that she is not just a sleazy pirate.
Yep.
Um, she is a genuine person.
And
Um,
we got a lot of detail in her character today, which was
mhm,
really nice. To get that considering like I've said a lot, I hated Sid in the first season. Uh, didn't think she mattered at all whatsoever, and clearly she doesn't. Though I have the question that I've been wanting to ask you ever since I saw these episodes. Now that this has happened, so do you think Sid is going to be the bad guy for season 3?
I hope not. Um, because she does threaten them this episode. She does say, "Hey, remember I know all about you and you know all about me. Basically saying, hey, you know my connections, you know what I can do. And with how much the Empire really, really wants you, it would be oh so sad for me to just accidentally open my big mouth, right? So uh I hope that she is not the enemy or the bad guy or the big bad of season 3 because I think you finally won, Katie. I am done with Sid. I think I am absolutely done with Sid. I I tried so many times to give her the benefit of the doubt. She showed a little bit of a soft side towards Omega once or twice, but not anymore. She is just a kind of she's a dirtbag. That's what she is. And so I I want there to be a little bit more when it comes to a villain of a whole season because I feel like Sid is very one note. Um and I'm saying one note in like, oh, I'm a sleazebag, and sleazebags do whatever they want, and that doesn't really excite me whenever it comes to a known villain that our heroes need to face up against, you know, because I feel like if they genuinely wanted to, they could pull one up on Sid and get her locked up in through the Empire, you know, I so that's just my way of thinking.
I do think that's possible. If she's not the villain for season 3, I've got money on we're ending the season and she like we think we're all happy hunky dory. Um I can't say that part. Um we got one more episode of scene. We
Oh,
can't
oh.
we can't talk about it. Um we're all hunky dory. Everybody's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go relax, have vacation." They're gonna get a call from Sid. She's gonna be on the holo projector, and she's gonna go, "You made a huge mistake," and then we're gonna see Imperial ships and everything come out of hyperspace right where the Bad Batch is, and that's how the season's gonna end. I have not seen the season finale, y'all. That is my prediction.
I I can see her being an obstacle, but I do not want her being the big bad. In all
If
honesty,
if if she reports them at the end of the season and that's the cliffhanger, I don't think she would be the big bad. It would be a okay, how do we escape the empire sort of thing. And like on the run from the empire, not having to deal with Sid. But if that doesn't happen, then I see her being the big bad next season.
that's a big sad. I don't like that. Uh, but they go to this planet known as, of course, Pabu. Um, I cannot remember Wanda Sykes' character name. Um, she brings them there because it is the one place not even Sid knows about. A very
Mhm.
sacred place to her, and it is just this little old island with this village of individuals, and it is a water planet. So, uh, I really like the aesthetic of this. They Hunter is always going to be the dad on edge, and
Yep.
he never really starts to relax until like uh around the moment where they have dinner and they're eating together and they're seeing how much Omega is enjoying herself, and the idea of like, hey, you could stay here. It could, just be all relaxing. You don't have to be running from the Empire all your life. And that's when you start to see everybody really starting to consider, oh, maybe this can be something that we do. Maybe we don't have to be soldiers for the rest of our lives. Um, which it's a cliche story, but I always love those stories. It's the like the final rest without being a final rest, Um,
Yeah.
and you see these guys have worked hard for so long. So I really enjoy where this is heading. Of course, we have 3 more episodes. So we know that's not. I know they're not going to get their happy ending, at least not yet. Uh,
Yeah.
so I like this. We didn't get a whole lot of moments with Omega. She was just there with her little friend that she made at Pabu. But there is these quakes, these I can't remember what they called it,
Trimmers.
but these tremors, yes. That is
Also, Wanda Sykes' character is Fee.
Fee, that's what it was. But basically, the mayor of Pabu was like, "Oh, we get these tremors every once in a while. It's fine. Like we're used to it. Everything will be okay." And Tech was like, "I'm not entirely sure. To my calculations, if this happens, then it's gonna be ginormous, and you guys are gonna get hit with a giant tidal wave, basically." And even Hunter's like, "Oh no, this isn't over." And that's when shit starts to hit the fan. The tide starts to roll back. We see this giant tidal wave. Um, I felt pretty intense in the moments where Omega and the little girl were running away from the tidal wave. I'm just like, okay,
Yes.
like, is Hunter gonna have to like dive in after them after they get crushed by this wave? What's gonna happen? Like, it was pretty intense. I really, really enjoyed it. Um, but I also liked the moment where Tech, Fee, and Wrecker had to help the rest of the islanders, or the rest of the
Mhm.
civilians, going up to higher ground. Again, this is the very simple story. It's not anything like super dramatic. This is every natural disaster movie ever. Like, honestly, it's nothing too crazy, but it just shows how quickly they can adapt to a new place and how warming the place can be to show you, hey, they can find a home here. And I think that is what they needed to convey and what they did. And I think they did it perfectly.
Yep. I think this is a huge moment of growth because you also see Tech kind of come out of his shell.
Hmm.
Um, and because there is no secret, Fee has a crush on Tech. Um, we can see some hanky panky between the two.
What does she call him? Brown eyes. Hey, get over here,
Brown
brown
eyes.
eyes. Yeah.
Um, no, I think this is a really good eye-opening episode for Hunter, for the rest of the squad as a group. Uh, in particular, the soundtrack just continues to be killer. The score for this, the music makes this episode, it would completely break it if it wasn't the way it was. Um, and the other thing, there's some really beautiful animation moments. When Omega and the daughter are out on the water before the tremors happen, and you see Omega just take in the fresh air, the sea breeze, it's completely gorgeous. Like
I love the scenery of this episode for sure.
yeah. It's a great episode. I don't think it's filler because ultimately you have to have those detailed character moments. And that's what makes this season completely different from season 1 is that the typical episodes where they're not hitting on plot, they're diving into characters and really building characters out. Star Wars is for kids, and this season just treats them like they're not babies.
Yeah.
It's a full story.
Yeah.
So
100%. Um
so I'm gonna ask you a question because I want to see what you're thinking. Where do you think we're gonna go for the penultimate episode? Because I'm calling it the penultimate episode because I don't understand why they're dropping 2 episodes for the season finale and not just dropping 1. So
yeah, so I think because correct me if I'm wrong, at the end of the last episode, we got a hold of both Rex and Echo. Or at least that's what they said they were going to do. I think we're going to follow up on that. I think that the Bad Batch wants to call Pabu their home. So I think they're going to make the audience feel like Pabu is their home. until the end of the next episode. Either at the
Okay.
end of the next episode or the episode before the final episode of the season. Like, because again, there is something, and call me sadistic, I think there is something beautiful in taking away the beautiful moments in a story. You know, Last of Us did it so well. You show a nice moment, a moment of peace, and then you quickly take it away, or not even quickly. You linger on it and then take it away because you're invested in these characters. You want them to have a happy ending. You want them to be good. You want them to be okay. And ultimately, it's not really how Star Wars is. Star Wars is
Mhm.
always going to be that up and down. Um, it's all growing up, I always heard that it's the Star Wars formula. Like Star Wars invented this formula of like, okay, the heroes win, then the villains win, and then the heroes win again, and then the villains win. And that's just how things are gonna go. And so even though this looks like a win for the Bad Batch, I think they're going to ultimately lose again so they can win. Um, but I think that Pabu is not in the cards for our guys, unfortunately.
Okay. We'll see next week.
I'm so worried. But of course, we have another show to talk about, that being The Mandalorian. So, Katie, I'm going to be completely honest with you. We got the opener of Bo-Katan and Mando. I'm like, good, we're starting right where we left off. This is great. Bo-Katan is being very, very shady. Hey, did you
We
see
talked about this
anything?
last week.
Hey, did you happen to see anything living down there? Being super shady. We knew this was gonna happen. And then all of a sudden, I see Coruscant on my screen. And I literally said out loud, I literally said it. This was, mind you, at 2 o'clock in the morning. I said out
This is
loud,
why your baby woke up.
probably. I literally said out loud, "What are we doing in Coruscant?" I was so confused. What's happening right now? This is Mandalorian. We never go to high, like, profile public cities. What's going on? For the next 40 minutes, we get a completely different story. And I am very curious because I have not looked at the reception of this episode. This is the longest episode in the entire series, not just in this season, but in the entire series is the longest episode. Katie, what was your reaction to the shift in storytelling and the story we got? What was your reaction?
So, being that I read most of the post Return of the Jedi books, um, Aftermath series being the exception, it was interesting to see because yes, we are on Coruscant for the majority of this episode. A lot of people were like, what if this is Chandrilla? Because in Aftermath, Chandrilla is actually named the capital of the New Republic. So that's factoid one. So we don't see like a Senate hall or we don't see government officials or anything. We just know that this amnesty program is located on Coruscant.
Hmm.
So the amnesty program, also, if you want more information on that, that is focused in a lot of the Alphabet Squadron books. So those are the books to check out if you're like, what is going on here? What is this? Um, and then the other mention that could be something like book related, we have Mount Umate. We get to see that in live action. We've seen it in the Clone Wars before.
Hmm.
We've also seen it in the High Republic, um, in Light of the Jedi. And then the other thing is Dr. Pershing makes a mention of castes, which we know from Shadow of the Sith are the cloning methodologies that Palpatine was employing to try and build himself a better body. So those are kind of the references that we got. I loved this. And now you said you hadn't looked at the reception. A lot of people on Twitter, it was kind of mixed. A lot of people were like, I love this. And it was the people who were loving Andor and were like, I need Mando to do a little bit better with their storytelling aspects. The people who were like, this is not what I expect from Mando, I don't like this, didn't like Andor. So if that kind of paints a
That
perspective
I
for
I
you.
feel like that tracks a whole lot. This felt very Andor-ish, again, talking politics, talking, uh we get the mention of Moff Gideon. There is, uh, the whole so in the very beginning, when we're in Coruscant, the speech, the talk of cloning and how it can really help those in need and all of this stuff. I felt that this, however you guys want to take it or not, this whole episode was real life politics, our real world politics thrown into Star Wars. Um, and it felt black and white to me. I was like, holy crap. I don't know how people are going to read into this, if people are even going to see in between the lines on this, but I enjoyed it. I really did. The doctor, they call
Pershing.
him, what was that again?
Pershing.
Pershing. But they call him, I believe his name is uh L50
L52.
L52 is what they call him. Um, and we have a, I believe she was, correct me if I'm wrong, a
She was a
captain
communication officer.
officer
Um,
for Moff
in
Gideon on his ship.
yes, I don't know if she was a lieutenant or not. Um, but so they kind of reunite where they're at uh in the amnesty housing. And boy, did I see what was coming from a mile away. I just want to say it.
I did not. So it was so I did and I didn't, because again, me being the person who I am, I always want to hope for the best. I was like, okay, cool, it could really work out for the New Republic, and the people who were a part of the Empire, they can definitely switch sides. Everything's hunky dory. Everything's fine. But then it would linger too much. The camera would linger too much on her at times, where I saw her at, and I was just like, "Oh no, something's gonna happen. Something's not going to go perfect." Now,
Also, Pershing is played by Abtahi, and I think I just butchered that completely. Ilia Kane, because she gets a name in this episode, or G68,
mhm,
is played by Katie O'Brien. So those are the actors for these segments.
okay,
I thought they did a wonderful job. Like they like packed a punch in this episode.
I loved their back and forths.
Yeah.
It showed, like, for Pershing, the idea of how obsessed he is with the idea of cloning. He tells the story about his mother and about how if only there was a clone, she could
Hmm.
still be alive today. And, really selling it of like, oh, if there was clones out there, you would never lose a loved one ever again. I don't want you to go through the same experience that I had to go through. Really, really selling it. But the back and forth between them two, uh, I think I knew as soon as I saw the yellow biscuits. I was like, oh no, like, how did she get those? And what's going on here? And so it's kind of like, again, you understand the reasoning of why they do this, but it I believe it happens a total of 2 times, maybe 3, where we see a droid basically interviewing them every morning or every afternoon.
The therapy droid.
The therapy
Very
droid.
it's a thing in Alphabet Squadron. Erica Quell, who was a former Imperial pilot, has to go through the same thing.
Ah, okay. Okay. Very interesting. But it keeps asking these questions. Do you feel like hurting anybody? Do you feel like hurting yourself? Like these very dramatic questions, these very traumatizing questions. And Pershing is just like, no, no, everything's fine. Everything's good. But ever since they got the questioning of like, hey, what if you could help people with your cloning research? What if you could keep working? You see him start to really question it. And he eventually asks the droid, hey, our ultimate goal is to help people. Are we, is that correct? The droid said, yes. He's like, okay, well, have a good day. He walks off. He goes to, again, what was her name?
Kane.
Kane. And she says, okay, we're going to get you your lab, but it's going to be a mobile lab so that way we can move it around. And actually, it's actually in the Imperial junkyard right now. And he's like, "Are you freaking kidding me? No, that is outside our jurisdiction. We're going to get in trouble. We're going to get caught. Like this is a bad idea." She's like, "No, no, no. We're good. We're good. Trust me." And then they go on this whole adventure through Coruscant, where Pershing he has written all over his face, "Hey, I shouldn't be here. Hey, I shouldn't be
Mhm.
here. Hey, I shouldn't be here." And there's several times where there is officers, New Republic officers, that kind of eye him and they're like, "Hey," like you kind of get that sense of like maybe they wanted to go talk to him, but then something stops them or something. They get on the train, and then the droids start to uh check for tickets. This is where things get a little bit more intense. They keep going to different cabins in the train. Eventually, they hit the end. No more cabins. How do they get off? It's a moving train. It's moving fast. Kane is like, okay, we're gonna jump. Whatever. I had no idea where they were gonna jump. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? This thing is moving so fast. They're gonna die. Luckily, we learned that Kane has done this before, and that's the whole reason why she knew where to jump, where to land, blah blah. It's so weird. The next scene that comes up, they go throughout this entire episode and they're like, we saw each other while we were on the other side while we were in the empire. We never introduced each other. We never got to know each other. And so like they formally greet each other. A whole weird thing for me. I was just like, okay, this is a totally inappropriate time to do this. You could get caught at any time right now. Like we save all that stuff for later. But we start to see that there are noises, there's lights starting to shine, and so they go out and run for it. And we find out that it was all a trap.
Yep.
How so you said you saw this a mile away?
I was like, I wanted to see it happening. I wanted to see like the blooming romance that was trying to form. And this is, I think, the only part of the episode where it fails for me is in this moment with like the turn. Is it I feel like it's very obvious, like how you were talking about how like the politics in this episode are very obvious. I didn't
Mhm.
see the politics, but I thought this was obvious. Oh, um, no, I did truly love Katie O'Brien in the role, and I feel like Pershing was just he wanted to continue to clone so much, and you hear the therapy droid go, "Well, cloning is illegal on Coruscant. You can't do it." So, yeah, I think it was the emotions that kind of Katie pulls up with it, Kane, and is it just doesn't fully work.
I so I will say this: the turn at the end, it ended up being a trap. I genuinely thought Kane was fully rehabilitated and was in the side of the New Republic.
Oh no.
Little did I know, the very next scene we get the torture scene that isn't a torture scene, and
Yeah, because we
this
heard about the mind flayer, um, from one of the amnesty program people at like the beginning when Pershing comes in for the first time.
Mhm.
And that's what we get here. I have to ask you this question because I did not notice this, but Twitter noticed this. Did you notice Pershing said, "No, she led me there. It's a trap," and he said that to a Mon Calamari.
Yes, I did. I
Okay.
totally I it did not like go past me as whatsoever because he said it's a trap, and then as I'm watching it I went, it's a trap. um I it was a very serious moment, but I just couldn't stop myself from doing it. um but they put this headpiece, and again, Pershing is terrified in this moment. Like, you're going to erase my mind. Like, I promise I won't do it again. Like, I can explain everything. We're gonna be okay. And he is terrified of essentially becoming a vegetable. Because I can only assume that's what it's going to end up doing. And you see they do this in two different shots, and I just love the way. Remind me again who directed this. uh this was
It is, please hold while I process your request. Lee Isaac Chung. He did an
Chung.
incredible job.
He did an amazing job with this. There's a moment where the Mon Calamari is adjusting it. They purposely let you see at the corner of the screen the level and how far it goes up. They do that very purposefully because you see on the other side of the window, the mirror, whatever, you see Kane there, and she's like, "Oh, I really hope he gets the help that he needs." Uh, and the other guy there setting everything up, you then see the adjuster again,
Mhm.
very purposefully, and he's like, okay, well, let's go ahead and leave. And she's like, oh well, he was my friend. I like, can I stay here just a little bit longer? I want to see if he's okay. He's like, yeah, sure, whatever. He walks out, and she, no expression on her face, goes to this dial and basically turns it to 11. This bar goes straight up, and you see the visually on the sensor on his eyes and even the light near his temples. The light is changing, like, you
From this blue
know,
to a red.
yeah, it goes blue to red, and you know, okay, this cannot be like it can't be something peaceful. This definitely hurts him in some capacity. And she just walks away. And well, no, I don't even think she walks away. She eats the biscuit. That's what it's happening. I'm watching it on the.
Yes.
She just eats the yellow biscuit. I'm just like, why,
Well,
why?
because I think she has to stick around in order to kind of flip it back. So she's gonna leave it there, and then like before she goes to leave, she's gonna turn it back to the regular level
True, true. I
because otherwise she doesn't maintain her cover.
so that is very true. It is very clear. This is all Moff Gideon, right? This totally.
It's gotta be. And Gideon doesn't want Pershing passing on secrets, so that's why he has apparently passed on to Kane, hey, if you see this guy come through, something's got to be done.
Yeah.
So, I it's a heartbreaking episode, especially considering when you look at it and you look from Andor to the Mandalorian because a lot of the sets are reused. You see a very similar office setting to what the Empire guy who was the detective is in the apartment complex. Uh
Hmm.
so everything looks very similar and it's eerie because the comparison that you have to make is you have to see This is what the Empire was doing to people. And now the New Republic has dehumanized people so much because Pershing's name is Pershing. He's Dr. Pershing, but he's constantly addressed as L-52 in this episode.
Yeah.
Same thing with Kane, addressed as G-68. Like, they are boiled down to an alphanumeric number, character, set, whatever you want to call it. And for what the New Republic was trying to do and trying to rehumanize government and make it work, they failed because this is not how you treat people.
I was gonna say very, very similar to that of clones. They're
Mhm.
just bodies. They're people to help move things along. Because it
Yes,
even shows
because
Pershing actually do work. He is
yeah,
working at the lower levels of, I can't remember what exactly he was doing, but they showed
he's
him in a work.
logging equipment and logging it for scrap, destroy, or reuse.
Oh, that's right.
And that's
That's right.
not
Yeah.
that's not what his talents are in. You would think the
Mhm.
New Republic would go, this guy's a doctor. Let me put him in science somewhere.
Yeah. It's crazy how we can see what should be the good guys still fail in something that could easily be so simple.
Yep.
But yeah, very, very good observation. Um,
And if you
we
want, again, just to reiterate kind of the books that will give you a little more context, Aftermath, Alphabet Squadron, as well as Bloodline are all very good books to get into. Lost Stars is also a good one that takes place around before this time, but still around the same time, and kind of gives you an inkling into Mon Mothma, Leia, and everyone's heads. So it they're all very good books except for Aftermath. I'm gonna say that. So I still can't finish Aftermath. I tried to read it the other day and couldn't do it. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry, people who love Aftermath. I'm sorry.
Now we do get to a point where we finally get back to Mando, Grogu, and Bo-Katan. Um, and this is when we get to see uh Din Djarin go to the rest of the Mandalorians and say, "Hey, I have
Coverts.
yes, I have bathed in the waters." They're like, "Bullshit. You haven't done anything. That's a myth, a legend. It's impossible. You can't do it." It's like, "I have proof right here." And in my mind, I'm so glad that they had a visual on this because I'm like, "Din, it's water. You could literally get it anywhere. How is that proof of anything?" I'm so glad that they like it was mythical in its molecular level, I will say, because when they go to the armorer, she's like, "Okay, let me see this proof." And she dips it into this other water and it has like a
Yes.
blue glow and it ripples really cool. She's like, "Okay, there's proof. You are Mandalore again." Just simple as that. But also in very odd events, she's like, "Oh, Bo-Katan, you bathed too?" And Bo-Katan's like, "Yeah, but I don't do any of this stupid Creed stuff that you guys do." She's like, "Well, have you taken off your helmet since then?" "Nope." "Okay, cool, you're Mandalorian." And in my mind, I'm like, "Oh
Daddy,
shit."
you can go. It's like, uh,
But ironically, Katie, ironically, I think this works in Bo-Katan's favor. All that we had talked about last episode about how she's going to slowly make her way into thinking, "Hey, I can really take my spot on the throne again." I think this is how she does it.
well, okay. So I saw something interesting on Twitter because that's where I live on these days, apparently. Um, Somebody said Bo did not bring up the mythosaur to Din because she did not want she did not want to make him think that he was not deserving of leading Mandalorian because he did not want the dark saber. I know.
Uh,
So, because I think people are trying to make it so Bo's not going to be the antagonist this season, when I totally still think that's going to happen.
I think it
But
will happen
that was their
also.
logic, was Bo was trying to take care of Din's mental capacity because she did not want another sign, or she did not want to give him a reason to think that he was not meant to rule Mandalore.
That's a stretch. I'm
That's
not
what I
gonna
say.
say I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna say if he saw the mythosaur, he has more hope. And Bo-Katan does not need the person who is already wielding the saber to have more hope. And again, I don't necessarily think that Din is a man who wants to lead a nation, to lead a planet, a people. He just knows how to be a Mandalorian and he wants to be a Mandalorian. That's ultimately what I think Din Djarin wants to be.
Mhm.
Whereas Bo Katan has tasted royalty before. She was royalty. So to have it ripped away for years and years and never think that she could have the chance again, to all of a sudden all these pieces are coming together, it's going to be so easy for her to take it. And I think for some of these people that think, oh, she's just being very helpful for Din, they're gonna come, they're gonna be in for a rude awakening. I
I
think
think
in
they're
2 to
just in
3 episodes.
denial. I don't think they necessarily are like, "Oh, that's never gonna happen." I think they're in denial because, I mean, we saw Bo grow up basically, so it's hard to see her turn like that.
Yeah, but I mean, power corrupts. Like we've seen
Mhm.
it. And I think that's ultimately what's going to happen with Bo-Katan. Um
What did
but
you
yeah,
think what did you think about the fact that Bo has gotten something easily that Din has been striving for, while Din, not necessarily easily, but Din got the dark saber without asking, without trying, and Bo got accepted into the cohort without trying. What did you think of that parallel?
I honestly didn't even think about it. Now seeing it the way that it is, I think that again, Bo-Katan being Mandalore, I think like Din would be like, all right, like you're one of us. But at the same time, I can also be like, yeah, you're one of us, but I know you want to take off that helmet.
Yeah.
So, just you can take it off
And
whenever
he's
you
gonna
want now.
report her, so it's not like if she takes off that helmet in front of him, it's not like he's not gonna go, "Yeah, you're no longer, like, one of us, like, you can't use the cohort's resources anymore."
Yeah.
I think he's gonna be that person.
You think he
She
will
might be
be?
able to pull off I think she may be able to pull off one favor because she saved his life twice. I think he'll allow it once, but if she does it after that, I think she's screwed.
Din, don't be a snitch. That's all I gotta say. Like, cause
Do
those
you
helmets
think
gotta be like nasty and sweaty and gross. Like, let the girl breathe. Come on.
Do you think that we're continuing the cult storyline because Pedro was filming on Last of Us and was not available to take his helmet
That's a bit controversial.
off?
Because come on, Katie, everybody knows Pedro is always underneath the helmet. Okay.
No, because the stunt doubles are getting credit this season for
They are getting
starting. Yes.
they are
So
getting credit this season. Um, I can definitely see that being a reason. Um, I mean, it logistically makes sense.
mhm.
They had filming for 6 to 8 months, I believe, while Mando had almost a year, so it crossed. It definitely crossed. Now with them officially making Din Mandalorian again, do we see his mask off at all this season? Because it has been a reoccurring thing. Every season he takes it off at least once, and you see his face. What do you think?
I don't know.
Or
I
how
really
about
don't.
how about this? How about this? Because again, we think Bo-Katan is going to be the villain of the season. Do you think it's going to be forcefully taken off?
Ooh, I could believe that, I think, a little bit more than him taking it off.
Yeah. That one was just off the cuff. I just thought about that. That I think would be very compelling. And again, people might think it's stupid or whatever, but this is what they live by. This is their code. It's important to them. And I think Bo-Katan is going to play dirty. I think she will. And if it's see now, my only hangup would be if like we start to see multiple helmets coming off and we find out that it's Bo. I think that would be kind of dumb. Like, come on, guys, you couldn't figure it out. Like, I don't need this to be a Scooby-Doo episode. But like, I think if there is a confrontation with several of the Creed there to witness, and she takes off the helmet. Now, see, here's the thing though. Do they accept that it was forcibly taken off and they don't give like a strike to Din? Or do they
I
just
don't think they
say
would.
you don't think so?
I don't think they would. I think they would cut him some slack.
I don't know. I genuinely think that even if there was a moment where because
Well,
it's hard to
now
say
the
because
living
there's go ahead.
now the living waters are opened up and it's confirmed that they can go back to the living waters. So I don't think you can reuse that multiple times. I think living waters were done.
Okay. I think that there could easily be a situation where Bo-Katan has kind of cult leadered her way in to being a semi leader and then kind of convincing these individuals like if to be your true leader I need the dark saber. And so I think that she can and she will challenge him for it. But again, I think she's going to play dirty for it. I think she will.
We'll see. We'll definitely see because what is left from the trailers that we haven't seen? We saw the flying sequences that we talked about last week.
Mm-hmm.
We are missing Carson Teva
Yes.
in the trailer. We have not seen him yet. And we haven't seen the Mandalorians land in Navarro. I'm not going to say try and capture Navarro, but it's what it looks like. And especially considering Paz Vizsla looks pissed off that Bo-Katan was allowed into the covert.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say we're getting that next episode. Also because Carl Weathers is directing the next episode. I think we are getting Mandalorians in Navarro next episode.
Okay. I can see it.
Next episode is also co-written by Dave Filoni.
Oh shit. Shit. We getting Ahsoka?
I don't think we're getting Ahsoka. We might get Sabine.
Oh, I never thought about that.
We talked about this before.
Yes, but like again, I'm tired. I've had a very long day. Okay, it just hit it like it literally just hit me. I'm like, oh, Sabine. Yeah, I could see it. I could see it.
Dave Filoni co-wrote 2 episodes this season. He co-wrote the penultimate episode, so chapter 23, episode 7. And then he co-wrote episode 4, chapter 20. So I
All
think
right.
we're getting some stuff that's gonna happen. So I'm interested to see. Because I think 5, I would hope. I would hope 5 is going to be quote unquote filler because that's Bad Batch season finale day. I think they would have planned this out so that it could kind of land appropriately, so where you're not having to handle 2 powerful episodes in the same day.
Very true. Very, very true. Well, I think that is it for the episode. I'm trying to think if there was anything in particular that I would want to call out, and I don't think there is. M- the one thing we kind of just really glossed over in the very beginning, uh, Bo-Katan's home, whether it was temporary, is now very temporary because it is now destroyed by
Yep.
the Empire. Um, so uh I loved all of that. The firefight, I really, really loved it.
Very good dogfight.
Very, very fun. But yeah, that's it for the episode. Of course, you can always find me at Fanboy Clay on Twitter, on Mastodon, and on the other show here on the network, being Ranger Alliance. The last episode, which was posted this week, me and Jake talked about the episodes 4, 5, and 6 of Zeo. You won't hear from us again until next month because Katie has 2 episodes to be reviewing pretty soon.
Actually, no, you're supposed to drop an episode next week.
No,
Yes.
are we?
Because we're dropping the 27th for John Wick Chapter 4, and then the discussion was that we could drop the 3rd for Dungeons and Dragons.
Crap. Okay, so rewind. Hey, so my next episode's gonna be next week, guys, and we I will have to do some scheduling gymnastics real quick, because I have 3 10-hour shifts at the end of this week. So
If you need
that's
to, just drop one of my Legends Patreon episodes on Monday. It'll be
oh,
fun.
you know what? So no, because I have a note right here. Joe will know what this note is. It is his co-host for Comic Book Rundown. Gave me a really funny idea for a Patreon / real episode that I will do. So I will just do that next week. So be on the
Sorry.
lookout
I
for that.
definitely told you the right dates, though.
Yes, but that episode being the next episode Katie's gonna have is John Wick. I'm very, very excited because I already have my tickets for it. Really excited to see it. But yeah, that's where you can follow me. Katie, what about you?
So y'all, you can follow me on all the social media platforms. It is at Slice of Katie. If for some reason social media were to explode and no longer exist, please go to my personal website. It's sliceofkatie.com, and I will update all the places you can find me, this show, and Slice of Film there for your viewing, reading pleasure. Slice of Film is my other show on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Podcast Network, like we just kind of talked about. The next episodes, John Wick Chapter 4, Mission Impossible 3 are going to drop on the same day. And then Dungeons and Dragons will be the following week because the Dungeons and Dragons episode will probably be the first ever episode that my sister listens to a review of. Because she
Did you
loves
get
Dungeons
early
and Dragons.
tickets?
No, because her stupid baby shower is on the 26th at 3 p.m. and
No, no, no,
Regal
no,
is
no, no.
having
On the 19th.
the
Did you not know
19th.
about this? So I believe it is Adam, ATOM, is doing a special for Dungeons and Dragons. If you have an Amazon account, you can get tickets for the 19th.
What is it? Adam Movies?
Yes.
Oh shit, we're gonna look this up right now, y'all.
It is actually I will send it to you via Discord because I believe it was SBubs that shared it in the GV Discord channel. I just need to look and scroll a little bit, but he has already bought his tickets for it. I will be working that day. I'm so upset. But I do believe I will be able to see it sometime when the official release comes out.
Oh shit. Okay. March 19th. I don't think I have anything Sunday. Cool. Looks like we're gonna go see Dungeons and Dragons, baby. So, okay, so there might be an early episode. We might be dropping a non-spoiler discussion about Dungeons and Dragons instead of Mission Impossible 3 with John Wick Chapter 4. And then the full episode, because Clay has agreed to record with me for Dungeons and Dragons and do that review, will come out on the 3rd. So, yeah, be prepared.
All right. Well, Katie, do you want to go ahead and do the closer and we will get out of here?
Yes, y'all, I hope you have a great day or night, whatever time of day you are listening or watching, and we will see y'all next time. May the force be with you.